Alright, hello, my name is Kadra Townsend. You can call me Kadra. I'm pursuing my Master's of Higher Education Administration. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I always joke that even though my bachelor's is in communications, I'm a terrible speaker and communicator. I have a dog named Dutch, named after Dutch Vanderlyn from Red Dead Redemption 2, and a cat named Kronk after the Emperor's New Groove. He is up there in the window, chilling. Kronk. Hi. I also have a 14-month-old daughter who keeps me on my toes. She's recently learned to walk, so that's our new fun adventure in life. Let's see. When I was in my undergrad program, I was a work study, so that's kind of my main part of student affairs, higher education. I worked as a tutor and leveled up to a supplemental instruction leader through doing CRLA trainings, College Reading Learning Association. And then, kind of through that, the position really showed me how much I liked working in higher ed, and it opened a lot of doors for me. So I've worked as a full-time staff in higher education for 5 years and 3 months. I know that because I just got my 5-year PIN, and very exciting for me. I started my career as an administrative assistant, but I'm currently employed at the University of New Mexico Valencia campus as a student success specialist, also known as an academic success coach, academic advisor, so many different terms. I also oversee the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society chapter that we have on campus. I knew I wanted to be an advisor after being a tutor and then being in Phi Theta Kappa as a student, which allowed me to be close with the administration. I remember telling the person who was in charge of Phi Theta Kappa, our chapter advisor, who was an academic advisor herself, that, hey, this is something I really want to do. And she's like, why would you want to do this? Like, no money in it, nothing. And I'm like, I just love working with students. Like, this just sounds like so awesome. And she's like, okay, sure, whatever. And I kept up with her for years. And, after a couple years after I graduated college, and we connected, and we were connecting, and she messaged me, she's like, hey, there's going to be a position opening up soon. You need to apply for it. And I was like, okay. I've already applied to so many positions everywhere. I was already working at UNM Albuquerque as an admin assistant. And I'm just like, okay, we'll apply, we'll see. Well, I got the job, so yay, that was exciting for me. I was like, yes, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm getting to work directly with students, and so far I love it. And that supervisor, she ended up being my supervisor, the person that was my, she ended up being a friend and, good advisor to me, was my supervisor. And then she recently retired. I applied for her job. I did not get it, but that's okay because I just consider myself in training for it now. My current supervisor actually frequently tells me, she's like, okay, you're almost ready to take my job. And she's like, the other day, I got access to a new software that I've been trying to get them to give me access to. And she's like, oh, one more step closer. And I'm like, okay, I'm excited. It's excited to have someone that believes in you, that you can do it. And, I just need this degree, and then we'll be good. Anyway, let's see. So, I do want to stay in student affairs. At least I think I do. I really like working directly with the students. I'd look into other areas if it seemed interesting enough or if the pay was tempting enough. I'd love to climb the ranks to a manager or supervisor or director, something like that. But again, like I said, a master's degree is needed, so we got to get through that first. Truthfully, the best part of student affairs in my undergrad was just the student organizations at the community college level. When I was working on my associate's degree, I felt really supported. We had programs such as TRIO and just, again, like more of a close-knit faculty, that kind of stuff. But when I transitioned to my bachelor's program, I felt really lost. I had issues with my financial aid. It ended up taking me an extra semester because of that. There was, a new advisor. I feel like every time I went to the advisement office, there was someone new. The turnaround was really high. And now working in this position, okay, it's still really high. But, and then another unfortunate part for me was most of my instructors from my bachelor's were just students working on their PhDs as TAs and adjuncts and that kind of stuff, which, again, that was kind of frustrating at the time because, I didn't really understand, how the actual education works. And now, seeing it through a different lens, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I had a lot of really great instructors. It wasn't what I imagined I would have. An interesting fact about me is I have a condition that is called Marfan syndrome. It is a rare genetic disorder. It affects the connective tissue, which supports, organs, muscles, bones, tissue. It gives me really long hands. I'm recording on 2 devices, just in case one does not upload properly. So, that's why I'm kind of back and forth, just so I can make sure I get everything good. Sorry for the blue light in the glasses. If I take them off, I won't be able to read my notes, and then I'll just stare here blankly. Okay, so I spent hours looking for the perfect TED Talk, and I was familiar with TED Talks. I've watched them before. I remember being really interested in them in high school, and I actually had a friend who gave a TED Talk, during when he was in his undergrad. I had already finished my undergrad by then, and so really exciting, all the different kind of TED Talks that are out there, but I couldn't find one. I was at the point where I was just, beating my head against the desk, and finally my fiance was like, okay, let's figure this out together, and he helped me kind of, look at stuff, and then, I ended up choosing this one that's called What Makes a Good College and Why It Matters by Cecilia Orphan, who is an instructor at University of Denver. I know the video didn't have to be about higher ed specifically, but once I started watching it, I was instantly hooked, so I was like, alright, we're gonna do this. The whole point of the video was to determine what makes a good school, if it was education, merit, funding, and the schools that you think of as highly successful and have merit to their name may not always be the best schools for someone. Even though they receive a great deal of funding, they do reject such a high number of students. And when looking at the schools that the author refers to as regional public universities, you can see the difference that those schools actually make. While there are, high research schools that are highly funded and focus more on research, the rural public universities tend to make a little bit more of a difference in the day-to-day life. Especially, they're really necessary for those low-income first-generation and minority students. As someone who didn't have, test scores and other necessities to go to a prestigious university, the RPU was all that was available for me. I think I had a 20 or 21 on my ACT, which, not great. I didn't think I would even, I think first time I took it, I think I got a 19. I think you get that just for writing your name. But yeah, so for me, it just wasn't, I didn't think I was going to have a real university experience, and I didn't, because I ended up going to a community college. I didn't get to go out of state to a 4-year, or even in state to a 4-year. I just didn't have the scores needed. I didn't have, the support needed to be able to do that. So I went to a community college, which, I had always been told, oh, it's just high school 2.0. Well, that kind of is another reason why I'm here, and I'll explain that later on in the class, if I get the chance. Yeah, so just hearing that, the aspects of funding and donation was really interesting in that video. Learning that Johns Hopkins got $1.8 billion, although they already had a $3.8 billion endowment, and the fact that they reject 89% of students who apply. Looking at the RPUs that take virtually everyone, it shocks me to see such a high rejection rate. The author stated that RPUs have become more expensive, which hurts low-income students and has caused student loan debt to skyrocket. I was fortunate enough to graduate my undergraduate debt-free thanks to Pell Grant eligibility and the New Mexico Lottery Scholarship, and so far minimal debt with my master's due to UNM's tuition remission policy. However, I do see students struggling when it comes to the cost of tuition and not having help from their families, even though they're considered under their income due to the FAFSA. This video makes me want to look more into regional regional public universities and rural serving institutions. As I said, I'm already highly invested in the community college atmosphere and destigmatizing community colleges. And just thinking about this adds a new level of interest. You know, my brain's already starting trying to figure out how I can work this into research and my comprehensive exam. I do plan on looking more into the author. As I said, she was really interesting, Cecilia Orphan from University of Denver. I'm looking forward to this semester and learning more about the management of student services. And I did end up liking this assignment a little bit more than I thought I would. It really gave me something to look forward to and just more information that I can, find out for myself as we go. Thank you.